58% of Americans earning more than $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Think about that for a second. These aren't people struggling to find work. They have good jobs, they have degrees, promotions, nice homes, new cars sitting in the driveway. On paper, they've done everything they were told to do. And yet, by the end of the month, many of them are asking the same question. Where did all the money go? Maybe this sounds familiar. You worked hard for the raise, you climbed the career ladder, you finally reached an income you once believed would solve all your financial problems. But somehow, the stress never left. The bills got bigger, the lifestyle got more expensive, the savings account never grew the way you imagined, and every payday feels less like progress and more like a reset button. You start telling yourself that the next raise will fix it. Then the next one comes, and nothing changes. Because the biggest financial trap in America isn't low income. It's earning enough to look wealthy while quietly falling behind. And that's exactly why so many people making six figures are just one unexpected expense, one job loss, or one missed paycheck away from a financial crisis. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden traps that keep high earners broke, why working harder often makes the problem worse, and the simple shift that separates people who earn a lot of money from people who actually build wealth. And one of these traps is so common that millions of Americans fall into it without ever realizing it's happening, until years of income have disappeared with almost nothing to show for it. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the 5 biggest traps that quietly keep high-income Americans stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. Some of them are obvious. You probably already suspect that expensive cars, bigger houses, and luxury spending play a role. But others are almost invisible. They're disguised as smart financial decisions, normal social expectations, and rewards you think you've earned. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Stay with me until we get to trap number 4, because that one hits differently. It's the trap that catches successful people the most, and many don't even realize they're trapped until they've spent years sacrificing their future just to keep up with everyone around them. And at the end of this video, I'll show you a simple one-number rule that changes the way you think about money forever. It's not a secret investment, it's not a side hustle, and it's not about living like a miser. But once you know this number, every financial decision becomes clearer, and you'll understand why some people build real wealth while others earn 6 figures and still feel broke. The first thing you need to understand is that this doesn't happen because you're lazy. It doesn't happen because you're irresponsible. And it definitely doesn't happen because you're bad with money. In fact, many of the people caught in this trap are disciplined, hardworking, and financially aware. The problem is that nobody warns you about what happens after you start making more money. From the time we're young, we're sold a simple idea. Study hard, get a good job, work your way up, earn a bigger paycheck, and eventually everything falls into place. But for millions of Americans, that's not what happens at all. The paycheck gets bigger, but so does everything else. You land a better job, and suddenly the old car doesn't feel good enough anymore. You tell yourself you've earned an upgrade. Then the new salary makes the apartment you've been renting feel too small, so you move somewhere nicer. The furniture has to match the new place. The wardrobe has to match the new position. The vacations get a little more expensive. The dinners get a little fancier. The monthly subscriptions slowly multiply. None of these decisions feels reckless. In fact, every single one of them feels reasonable. After all, you worked hard for this. But then something strange happens. A year goes by, maybe 2. You look at your bank account, and it doesn't reflect the sacrifices you made to get here. You compare your income today with what you earned 5 years ago, and the difference is massive. Then you compare your savings, and the difference is surprisingly small. Your income climbed, but your net worth barely moved. This is what financial experts call lifestyle creep, and it's one of the quietest wealth killers in America because it doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks into your life one upgrade at a time. You don't wake up one morning and decide to spend every extra dollar you make. You simply adjust to a new normal. Then you adjust again and again until the life that once felt luxurious becomes the minimum standard you think you need just to feel comfortable. If any of this is sounding uncomfortably familiar, drop a skull emoji in the comments. Because the truth is, you're far from alone. Millions of people are living this exact story. They're making more money than they ever thought possible while wondering why they still feel financially stuck. And that's where the first real trap begins. Because one of the biggest reasons high earners stay broke isn't that they don't make enough. It's that success quietly convinces them they have to spend more. This brings us to the first trap, and it's probably the most expensive one of them all: status spending. Not because people are trying to impress strangers, but because success quietly changes what feels normal. Researchers have found that as income rises, spending usually rises with it. For many households, every raise isn't just extra money, it's permission to upgrade their entire lifestyle. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it works so slowly that you barely notice it's happening. The first six-figure paycheck arrives, and suddenly financing a luxury SUV doesn't seem irresponsible. After all, the monthly payment fits the budget. Then a few premium streaming services become a dozen. A $5 coffee turns into a daily habit. Dinner out becomes 3 or 4 nights a week because you're busy and you've earned the convenience. A business class seat starts to feel reasonable. The designer watch becomes a reward for the promotion. The expensive gym membership becomes part of your new identity. Individually, none of these choices seems life-changing. Together, they quietly consume the very income that was supposed to make you wealthy. And here's the psychological trap that almost nobody talks about. High earners often feel entitled to spend more because they worked harder to earn more. It's a completely natural way to think. You sacrificed nights and weekends. You dealt with stress. You climbed the ladder. So when you finally reach a milestone, buying something expensive doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like justice. You tell yourself, I deserve this. The problem is that wealth doesn't care what you deserve. Wealth is built by the gap between what you earn and what you keep. And status spending destroys that gap. Imagine someone spends an extra $1,000 every month on lifestyle upgrades. A nicer car, better restaurants, premium memberships, little luxuries that slowly become necessities. $1,000 doesn't sound catastrophic to someone earning six figures. But if that same money were invested consistently over the next 10 years, the difference could be enormous. What feels like a monthly reward today could become hundreds of thousands of dollars working for your future. That's the hidden cost of status spending. It's not just the money you spend, it's the wealth that money never gets the chance to create. And the hardest part is that the people around you often encourage it. Friends congratulate the new car. Co-workers admire the bigger house. Social media tells you that success should look expensive. Very few people celebrate the person driving a paid-off vehicle while quietly building investments in the background. Because status is visible, wealth usually isn't. The truly wealthy person and the heavily financed high earner can look exactly the same from the outside. But behind closed doors, one is buying freedom. The other is buying appearances. And if you think this trap is expensive, wait until you see the next one. Because for many Americans, there's one purchase that quietly eats up more income than almost anything else. And most people proudly call it an investment. For many high earners, the second trap doesn't sit in the driveway. It sits on a quiet street with a nice lawn, a two-car garage, and a mortgage payment that looked perfectly reasonable when they signed the papers. The house they can afford. Buying a home has always been sold as one of the smartest financial decisions you can make. It's part of the American dream. Work hard, save for the down payment, buy the house, build wealth. But somewhere along the way, many people stopped asking a simple question: can I buy this house? And started asking a much more dangerous one: can the bank approve me for this house? Those are not the same thing. For decades, financial planners have talked about the 28% rule. The idea is simple. Try to keep your housing payment at around 28% of your gross income. The goal isn't to make life restrictive. It's to leave room for everything else that real life throws at you. But reality often looks very different. A family earning a strong income gets approved for a much larger loan than they expected. The lender says they can handle it. The real estate agent says it's a great investment. Friends tell them they'll grow into the payment, and before long, they're stretching their budget to buy the biggest house they qualify for. Because bigger feels like success. But the mortgage payment is only the beginning. There's property tax, homeowners insurance, HOA fees, repairs that never seem to come at the right time, a roof that suddenly needs replacing, a water heater that quits, A broken air conditioner in the middle of summer, a lawn to maintain, furniture to fill empty rooms. And somehow, the bigger the house becomes, the bigger every bill seems to get. A $500,000 home can quietly consume 40, sometimes even 50% of a family's take-home pay once all the hidden costs are included. And when that happens, the paycheck that once felt generous starts feeling very small. Suddenly, every other financial goal has to wait. Investing gets postponed. Vacations are charged to a credit card. Emergency savings stop growing. Retirement contributions stay the same year after year. Not because the family doesn't care about their future, but because the house is demanding almost everything they have. And here's the part that catches so many people. A beautiful home can make you feel wealthy while quietly preventing you from becoming wealthy. I want you to do something right now. If you're watching this at home, pause for a moment and think about your own numbers. Better yet, grab your phone or a calculator. Add up your mortgage or rent. Then include property taxes, insurance, HOA fees, maintenance, the money you spend furnishing and improving your home. Now compare that total with what actually lands in your bank account each month. What percentage disappears just to keep the house? You might be surprised by the answer, because housing isn't supposed to own your future. It's supposed to support your life. The goal was never to become a servant to a monthly payment. The goal was freedom. And the uncomfortable truth is that many high earners are living in houses they love, while sacrificing the very financial independence they hoped those houses would represent. But even this isn't the most deceptive trap, because at least with an expensive house, you can see where the money's going. The next trap is far more dangerous. It makes people believe they're building wealth, when in reality, they may only be creating the illusion of progress. Now, we're about to step into a trap that surprises almost everyone, because this isn't about people who never invest. It's about people who think they're investing enough. I call this investing theater, and if you've never heard that term before, that's exactly the point. Investing in theater is when you do just enough to feel financially responsible, but not enough to actually change your future. You sign up for the company's 401k. You put a little money into an index fund. You download an investing app. You check your portfolio once in a while. And because you're technically investing, you assume you're on the right path. The problem is that appearances can be deceiving. Think about it this way. Imagine someone joins a gym. They pay for the membership every month. They buy expensive workout clothes. They post pictures about their fitness journey. But they only exercise for 5 minutes a week. Technically, they're gym members, but they're not really building strength. The same thing happens with money. Many high earners are looking like investors without actually becoming investors. They contribute just enough to get the employer match. Maybe 3% of their income, maybe 5%, and then they never increase it. Years go by, their salary doubles, their lifestyle doubles with it, but their savings rate barely moves. Every raise creates a bigger house payment, a newer car, more expensive habits. Very little of it goes toward building wealth, and that's the illusion. People think wealth is created by simply participating in the market, but wealth is built by the amount of ownership you steadily accumulate over time. The savings rate matters a lot. Imagine two people earning the exact same income. One saves and invests 3%, the other saves and invests 20%. They may drive similar cars, live in similar neighborhoods, and look equally successful from the outside. But fast forward 10 or 20 years, and their financial lives could be completely different. One may still need every paycheck to maintain their lifestyle. The other may be approaching real financial independence. That's because investing isn't just about where you put your money. It's about how much of your income you allow to work for your future instead of disappearing into the present. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Many people spend hours researching which stock to buy, while completely ignoring the fact that their savings rate is too low to make a meaningful difference. They worry about earning an extra 1% in the market, but they never ask whether they should be investing an extra 10% of their paycheck. That's focusing on the small lever while ignoring the big one. The market cannot build wealth with money you never invest. And if your lifestyle expands every time your income grows, your investments will always be trying to catch up. The goal isn't to look financially responsible. The goal is to become financially free. Those are two very different things. And for many high earners, this is the moment they realize they haven't been building wealth at all. They've been performing it. But as costly as investing in theater can be, the next trap may be even more powerful because it has nothing to do with numbers. It has everything to do with people. And millions of successful Americans spend money they never planned to spend for one simple reason: they don't want to feel left behind. This is the trap I told you to wait for. Because unlike the others, this one doesn't start with a bad financial decision. It starts with a simple human desire. The desire to belong, the desire to fit in, the desire to avoid being the only person who says no. I call this the social pressure budget. And the strange thing about it is that almost nobody includes it in their financial plan. You budget for housing, you budget for groceries, you budget for transportation and utilities. But very few people budget for the cost of keeping up with everyone around them. And for high earners, that pressure can become incredibly expensive. Think about how it happens. A friend is getting married, and suddenly there's a destination bachelor trip. Flights, hotels, restaurants, gifts, a new outfit. Then a few months later, another wedding invitation arrives. Then someone suggests a group vacation because we all deserve a break. A coworker organizes a birthday dinner at an upscale restaurant. Another friend buys a vacation home and invites everyone for a weekend getaway that somehow costs far more than expected. Before long, your calendar starts spending your money before you do, and every event comes with an unspoken message. Everyone else is doing it. You can afford it. Don't be the one who says no. The difficult part is that these purchases rarely feel selfish. You're creating memories, supporting friends, building relationships, being part of the group. That's why this trap is so powerful. It doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like living. Imagine two coworkers. Both earn good salaries. One of them quietly turns down the expensive trips, limits nights out, and lives below their means. The other says yes to almost everything: the ski weekend, the luxury resort, the concert tickets, the weekly dinners, the golf membership, the networking events that somehow always end with a large bill. 5 years later, the second person may have a lifetime of great photos on social media, but the first person may have something even more valuable: options, the option to change careers, the option to take time off, the option to retire earlier. Because financial freedom is often built from the opportunities you politely decline. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The more money you make, the more expensive your social circle can become. When your peers upgrade their lifestyles, you naturally feel pressure to do the same. A six-figure income often comes with six-figure expectations: nicer restaurants, better schools, luxury vacations, premium experiences. Not because anyone forces you to spend, but because people quietly adjust to the standards of the group around them. This is where fear of missing out becomes dangerous. FOMO spending almost never appears as a separate category in your budget. It's scattered everywhere. A little extra here, a little extra there. A purchase made to avoid feeling left out. A trip booked because everyone else was going. A dinner you couldn't really afford but didn't want to miss. Individually, they seem harmless. Together, they can steal years of financial progress. And the hardest truth is this: many people are not trying to build a life they truly want. They're trying to keep up with a life they think they're expected to have. If this has ever happened to you, you're not alone. What's the most money you've ever spent just to keep up with everyone else? A vacation, a wedding, a car, an expensive night out? Leave it in the comments. No judgment, because almost everyone has a story, and almost everyone has paid the price at least once. But there's one final trap that ties all of these together. It's the reason lifestyle inflation keeps growing. It's the reason status spending never feels like enough. It's the reason people buy houses that stretch their budgets and say yes to expenses they don't need. And once you understand it, you'll realize that many high earners aren't running out of money because they lack discipline. They're running out of money because they have no destination. At the center of all these traps is one simple problem. Most high earners have an income goal. Very few have a wealth goal. They know exactly how much they want to make next year. They want the promotion, the bigger bonus, the higher salary. But ask them one question: how much money do you actually need to be financially free? And most people don't have an answer. Not because they haven't thought about it, but because nobody ever taught them to think that way. So they keep chasing more. A little more income, a little bigger house, a little nicer car, a little better vacation. And because there's no finish line, the race never ends. This is one of the oldest principles in personal finance. Spending expands to fill income. If you make $50,000 with no target, you'll probably find a way to spend most of it. If you make $100,000 with no target, you'll probably do the same. Make $200,000, and the cycle often continues. Not because people are irresponsible, but because the human mind naturally adjusts to whatever becomes normal. Without a destination, every raise creates new expectations instead of new freedom. And that's why I told you at the beginning of this video that there was one number that changed everything. Here it is, your financial independence number. For a simple starting point, many people use this formula. Take your annual living expenses and multiply them by 25. That's it. If your family spends $80,000 a year to live, your target becomes $2 million. If your annual expenses are $60,000, your target is $1.5 million. The exact number isn't the important part. What matters is finally having a destination. Because the moment you know your number, something incredible happens. The expensive upgrade doesn't just cost $30,000 anymore. It pushes your freedom further away. The bigger house isn't just a bigger payment. It raises the amount of wealth you'll need for the rest of your life. Every recurring expense becomes more than a monthly bill. It becomes a permanent increase in the price of your freedom. And suddenly the question changes. You stop asking, can I afford this? And you start asking, is this worth delaying the life I'm trying to build? That's the one number rule. It's not about becoming obsessed with money. It's about giving your money a mission. Because people who don't know where they're going often end up exactly where they never wanted to be. Working longer, stressing more, earning more than ever, while still feeling like they can never quite get ahead. But the good news is that once you see these 5 traps, you don't have to stay in them. And the solution is much simpler than most people think. You don't need a perfect budget. You don't need to predict the stock market. And you don't need to double your income. You just need a system that makes your money work for your future instead of quietly working against it. The good news is that escaping this trap doesn't require a financial miracle. You don't need to win the lottery. You don't need to start a business. And you don't need to spend every waking hour chasing a bigger paycheck. For most people, the answer is surprisingly simple. It comes down to 3 decisions. The first is to calculate your financial independence number. Know what you're actually building toward. Because if you don't have a destination, every road looks reasonable. Take an honest look at what it costs to live the life you truly want, not the life social media tells you to have. Then use that number to create a target. When you have a target, money stops feeling random. Your raises have a purpose. Your investments have a purpose. Even your sacrifices have a purpose. You're no longer just making money, you're buying freedom. The second step is to audit your status spending. And this requires brutal honesty. Look through the last 3 months of your bank statements. Ask yourself a simple question. If nobody could see this purchase, would I still have made it? Would you drive the same car if nobody knew what you drove? Would you buy the same watch if nobody ever noticed it? Would you take the same vacation if there were no pictures to post? Not every expensive purchase is a mistake. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the money you've worked hard to earn. The danger comes when you're spending to impress people who aren't paying your bills and won't fund your retirement. Name the spending. Call it what it is, because once you can identify it, you can decide whether it's actually adding value to your life. The third step is the one that changes everything. Automate the gap. Remember this. Wealth is built in the space between what you earn and what you spend. The larger that gap becomes, the faster your future changes. Don't wait until the end of the month to save whatever is left over. For most people, there won't be much left. Instead, pay your future self first. Increase your savings rate when your income increases. Automate your investments. Let the money move before you have the chance to spend it. Then build your lifestyle around what's left, not the other way around. Savings rate first. Lifestyle second. That's how you break the cycle. Because the people who build lasting wealth aren't always the highest earners. They're often the people who refuse to let their lifestyle grow faster than their future. And if you think back to the 5 traps we've covered today, you'll notice something interesting. Every one of them tries to convince you to spend today's money. The solution is learning to protect tomorrow's freedom. So now I want to ask you something. Out of these 5 traps, which one is your biggest challenge right now? Is it status spending? Buying more houses than you need? Investing just enough to feel responsible? The pressure to keep up with everyone around you? Or living without a financial target? Tell me in the comments. I read every one, and I'd love to know which of these hit closest to home. Because the moment you recognize the trap you're in, you're already taking the first step toward getting out of it. If this hits home, subscribe. And if you're serious about taking control of your finances, don't stop here. Watch the next video on your screen because it breaks down one of the biggest money mistakes people make and shows you a simple system to avoid it. Your future isn't decided by how much you earn. It's decided by what you do with what you earn. I'll see you in the next video.